Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Grow Folds, and today we'll be doing an unboxing review from plants from GreenspacesID. As always, please make sure you're hitting the like button for this video. It definitely pushes this content out to more plant lovers like yourself, as well as following me on Instagram at Grow Folds. If you want to get in touch with me directly, that is the fastest way. And if you have any questions about the plants that I will be featuring from GreenspacesID, you can send me a direct message that way. So for those that have been following my channel, you already know that I've received several packages from GreenspacesID. GreenspacesID is an actual nursery out in Indonesia that ships plants worldwide. They have a great reputation in getting plants sent to many different countries. I was able to actually get on a live selling chat with them on Instagram, and I happened to win a couple of free plants. One would be a Philodendron Florida Beauty, and my friend who is also part of the plant podcast, the Cultivation Corner, Steven, actually won two plants, a Hoya and an Anthurium. So we ended up just putting this into an order as well, just so that GreenspacesID would be able to ship us some more plants. And I was able to also get another viewer and subscriber, my friend Sean, who also wanted to order some Synapses and a couple of these Anthuriums. So we're going to see how the plants shipped. Now, mind you, whenever we did this order, this was back in early January, and temperatures are super cold. What happens is GreenspacesID actually ships to a broker, a nursery out in New Jersey. And if you already live in the East Coast, you already know that New Jersey gets snow. It's super cold. So we're gonna see what the state of the plants are. I will say that whenever you are importing plants or getting plants from overseas, you always have to have the mindset that the plants may not always ship well, but if you have a great seller like GreenspacesID, they are really good about replacing plants as long as you send them the plants that were not to your satisfaction. So I always shop confidently with GreenspacesID. I can send them direct messages via Instagram. So please make sure you are following them on Instagram at GreenspacesID. They typically respond to any of your questions or concerns very quickly. So we're going to see what they have. And you can see that this package was actually packaged very well. You can see that there was an insulation wrap, and they did have heat packs. So in terms of the turnaround, it took about 3.5 weeks for the plants to make it. So the first plant we are going to be unboxing is a Synapses of some sort. So my friend Sean, who actually lives out in North Dallas, this is where I'm based at. And for those that are new to the channel, I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. Welcome. My name is Richie, and I do daily plant shopping videos, but I have delved into showing how to do tutorials and give you some unboxing reviews because I have been getting some plants from different places, even these plants from overseas. So the first one is a Synapses Black Mamba, and this was actually a really good price for it. And if you notice with GreenspacesID, they ship it to where it would just grow on a support system like a trellis, a moss pole. So it's got some sphagnum moss here. I'm just going to unwrap this because since these are my plants that I ordered for my friend Sean, he's actually going to be the one that will be unpacking them and acclimating them himself. In terms of the plants, here's what I would tell you about GreenspacesID. The more plants you end up buying, the bigger discounts you could possibly get, and you can save on shipping. And what I would say is if you want to save on shipping, you should just go ahead and find a community of people who want to put in one big order. I happen to have some good friends that will always combine shipping with me in terms of the plants. So I believe the shipping for this particular order with all of the plants was about $45, which when you think about it, you also get a free phytosanitary certificate, and you don't have to really do all of the legwork. Plantstop.us is what actually takes care of these plants. I did want to show you that there is a slight root here, but in terms of this, you're going to have to basically get this one rooted. It is, Synapses, I didn't realize actually ship very well. So there's certain plants that are a little bit easier to ship and can handle some of the long travel time In terms of how GreenspacesID ships the plants to the United States, I believe they use air cargo, and they go through all the proper chains in order to be able to get these plants in the United States. So as far as the company and the nursery, I do trust them because they've been able to get me some plants, and they've been able to follow all of the regulations that the United States requires in order to get some plants from overseas. You know, a couple of general rules you would have to, follow in terms of getting a plant. You would definitely need an import license if you don't have a broker. Fortunately, GreenspacesID utilizes a broker called plantstop.us, so they take care of most of the legwork. Plants have to have a phytosanitary certificate from the country that's sending, and also the country that is going to be receiving the plant. So it is a complicated situation, but what makes GreenspacesID really easy to shop is you just put in the order and they will ship it to your doorstep, especially if you live in the United States. So this is a Hoya clemenorcerum green. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but this is a super sun stress Hoya, beautiful foliage. It's a little bit more of an uncommon Hoya, and my friend Steven of I Live Plants, he has a YouTube channel, was actually able to win this during a live selling event GreenspacesID typically holds on Instagram. We actually had to answer a couple of questions, trivia questions, and I think the question that the host asked was, what was the capital of Indonesia? And so Stephen was able to answer that very quickly, and he was able to get that free plant. So thank you to GreenspacesID for, having those free giveaways and to do live selling. So you're able to see some of the plants there. Now, the next plant they were able to sell us is this Dieffenbachia mint, which is basically a variegated Dieffenbachia. And here's the thing. So even when I unboxed this, we saw these Dieffenbachia during the live selling, and we just had to get them because it had such unique variegation. They almost look like Aglaonema. And here's the thing, right? So I'm going to unbox this, and you can clearly see that there is a little bit yellowing on some of the leaves. So those leaves are definitely going to be pulled off. What's important whenever you're getting plants from overseas or even in the mail, especially if they're in just sphagnum moss or bare root, is that the roots are healthy. So you can see that this root is a viable root. It's got really nice white thick roots. And so as far as just getting this acclimated from imported plants, this one shouldn't be a bad acclimation period. You can see that the leaves are still pretty good, and they have just a little plug at the very end. So I'm going to actually take that off once I'm able to rehydrate the plant. So that's one of the Dieffenbachia mint. So this is another Anthurium papillianum variegated mint. So this is another Anthurium that I ordered from another friend of mine out in the North Dallas area. Sean was able to get another gorgeous variegated Anthurium, and he got it for such a good price. And I was actually tempted to get another Anthurium. The Anthurium bug hasn't necessarily bit me yet to where I'm addicted to them. There are some people who really just love different types of Anthurium, the velvety textures, those dark black Anthuriums, different types of hybrids. It is a whole new world that I definitely need to learn about. I have some Anthuriums that are growing very well for me, and I would say they're growing well for me because I am growing them in semi-hydroponic substrates. I would prefer to put all of my Anthuriums in leca or lechuza pond. If I could get more access to lechuza pond, they would go there. But you can see this is a beautiful plant. There's just one yellowing leaf that I'm going to definitely take out. But if you look at the roots, super healthy, thick roots. You can see that the leaves are just gorgeous. And so I'm really happy that I was able to get at least some healthy plants for my friend Sean. Would I say from the get-go, this is a perfect shipment of plants? Not necessarily. And you already know, in terms of me doing unboxing videos, I like to give you guys the most honest review. I try not to edit out things because I want to give you guys confidence in being able to go shopping for plants, whether it is at a big box store like Lowe's, Home Depot, or Target, or from overseas like GreenspacesID. So, I'm trying to keep things cleaned up. In terms of just all of the plants so far, I mean, yes, we did see some yellowing leaves. Yes, some of the leaves might have had some damage, but you've got to think, shipping plants thousands of miles away from a different time zone, from a different country, from a different continent, it's not always going to be perfect. Like this variegated Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, definitely not what I was expecting. There's definitely some cold damage here. You can see some of the leaves are yellowing. So I'm not 100% sure if this plant is actually going to make it, but that is okay because you know, after I did the unboxing for this video, I definitely contacted GreenspacesID, and they said that, you know, if for some reason this plant doesn't make it, they would definitely send me a replacement plant. So I'm not really worried about that. You can see that some of the leaves I went ahead and pulled away. What I'm going to have to do with this Rhaphidophora tetrasperma variegated form is I'm looking at the roots, and here's an example of the roots not necessarily being perfect. They're not really white. So basically I'm gonna have to just repropagate the roots. So this one's definitely not gonna go in semi-hydroponic substrate, because most of my plants these days I'm actually potting up in leca until I can get access to lechuza pond. It just makes the plant care for me easy, and I've noticed that even with the bare rooted plants that I'm getting from GreenspacesID, they acclimate very easily in leca. So that one, as far as all of the plants that I've received from GreenspacesID, that would be literally the first plant that I wasn't really confident that it would be, you know, a plant that would actually make it. And, you know, that's okay. That is not GreenSpace's fault. It could literally be just the weather, because the plants, in terms of all of the plants I get, like for instance, this Anthurium Calgara, beautiful plant, but you can see there are just a few yellowing leaves, but look at how beautiful that velvety texture is. This is another plant that I ordered from my friend Sean. So, you know, for those that are actually thinking about doing a combo order with me, I would say my thoughts on getting plants from overseas: never expect the plants to come in perfect. You know, have your expectations, be hopeful that the plants are going to make it to you. But if for some reason there's some cosmetic damage, that is to be expected. And another thing is, in terms of like getting plants from overseas, you have to expect that your plant, your investment into the plants may not always come to fruition, in terms of you may end up losing a little bit of money, especially if the seller you're choosing may not necessarily replace the plants. Thankfully for GreenspacesID, they do replace the plants, and I can even vouch for this because some of you plant foldies have actually put in orders for GreenspacesID. I do have a promo code. If you use GrowFolds20, you will get 20% off your entire purchase. I know that some of the plant foldies that have done their own orders have gotten their plants. There might have been a couple of plants during this air cargo shipment that did not make it. And you can see with this Anthurium, there is some leaf damage, and you can see that some of the roots may not be the best condition. What I would suggest to my friend Sean is to cut some of the roots that are not necessarily viable, so that way when he rehydrates it and puts it into a substrate, there's not a potential for root rot. I know that I'm doing a lot of commentary as I'm doing the unboxing, but I like to educate people, especially for some of my plant foldies that have never gotten plants from overseas, much less gotten plants from the mail. So this is actually a lot more complicated. And I wouldn't even say complicated. I just think that some people are very much so weary about getting plants from overseas, because we have those frequently asked questions like, do you need an import license? For some plants, yes, especially when you are receiving more than 12 plants and you're not going through a nursery or broker that's basically being the middle person to get the plants in a legal way. You always want to make sure that you're following country regulations whenever you're getting the plants. Thankfully, again, with GreenspacesID, they utilize a broker that is able to get these plants to your doorstep, so you're not necessarily having to do the legwork. Now, as far as this Dieffenbachia mint, I also got one as well, and you can see that there are a couple of yellowing leaves, but look at how beautiful the roots are. You can feel that the roots are pretty dehydrated, but look at how stunning the leaves are. You've got to love the minty, ghostly look about it, and the roots are really nice. Now, I've talked about Dieffenbachia being a challenging plant, especially when you don't really have bright lighting conditions or higher humidity levels. But what I would tell you is I ended up getting a variegated Dieffenbachia, my last purchase for another friend, and my friend hasn't picked it up yet, but it has done very well whenever I pot it up in leca. It grows in my plant room where my humidity levels stay between 65 to 70%, and it's already pushed out a new variegated leaf. So that gives me confidence that if I pot it up in leca, if I keep it in my plant room, if I grow it under a grow light, it should do just fine. So I am going to splurge a little bit. And, you know, as far as GreenspacesID, you already know plant folies that I talk about Aglaonema. They've been able to get me some more Aglaonema. So you can see that this is another Aglaonema, variegated simplex. There was one that wasn't to my satisfaction, so they ended up sending me a replacement one. This is much better. Am I going to say that this Aglaonema is perfect? I would not say that. There's about 2 to 3 leaves that are definitely yellowing. So that way I'm going to go ahead and remove those leaves, because whenever you keep some of the leaves that are yellowing or about to die, it actually takes some energy for the plant to try to keep that leaf alive. And I want the plant to actually focus on getting more established roots and really getting that foliage that it has to keep it alive. But as you can see right here, the roots are very much healthy. So as far as this, you know, it is going to take a little bit of time for this plant to bounce back. And I really do believe that this shipment could have gotten a little bit better in terms of just maybe some of the cold damage had we waited a little bit for the plants to ship. So for me, patience is definitely a virtue, but whenever you're really excited to get plants, whenever you've gotten a very good relationship with the seller, especially with GreenspacesID, where they're literally sending me pictures and videos of the actual plants I am potentially going to receive, looking super healthy, it really has to do with a lot of the traveling. So again, plant foldies, I do not want you guys to have a negative outlook in terms of GreenspacesID. They have shown nothing but kindness. I trust them, and they've been able to get me some plants. Would I say some of these plants are perfect? Definitely not. But again, they would be able to either replace the plant, or you have to understand also, whenever you're importing plants, there is an acclimation process. So here's another Aglaonema, for instance. This is an Aglaonema in tan. It's got beautiful white leaves, but clearly you can see there's one leaf that is definitely going to need to be removed, and I can already see maybe 2 to 3 other leaves that are yellowing. And I really think it's because that these plants had to travel to New Jersey before making it to North Dallas, and so there's a lot of traveling, but it's also having to do with the weather. And I've noticed that the lighter variegated Aglaonema, like the ones with a lot of white, don't necessarily ship well as well. So, you know, those are things that you have to consider. There are certain plants that don't really ship well. Aglaonema typically ship well because they're very durable plants. But in this case, would I say this Aglaonema in tan is the best? No, but I could work with this. I feel like there is some viable roots. The leaves still look pretty good. And realistically, I'm probably going to lose a couple more leaves just because I could see that there are signs of yellowing. And that really has to do with just the cold damage it probably received. And I mean, I still see some pretty thick white roots, so I'm pretty sure that this plant's just going to have to acclimate and really recover from the travel. You can see right here, Aglaonema red stardust, Indonesian species. Now this one is one that I was actually looking forward to because it is a gorgeous Aglaonema. And for those that are on the Aglaonema bandwagon, you already know my opinions about it. I feel like Aglaonema are super underrated plants. They're easy to care for plants. And, you know, if you have Aglaonema, if you have social media, I have this social media experiment where if we just keep posting plants about Aglaonema, if we are obnoxious, and I will say this, obnoxious about just promoting Aglaonema on our social platforms like Instagram, please post any pictures you have, tag me at @growfolds, and utilize the hashtag popularize Aglaonema, that's one word, and see if we can get it to trend. But you can see right over here, this is an example of a really good specimen, a really good plant that traveled very well. There are a lot of roots. I just took one leaf or two that may not look like it's going to make it, but otherwise this is a really nice full Aglaonema. I mean, look at the leaves here. This is probably the best plant out of the whole, import that we got today. But, as far as that, I've gotten lots of really good plants from GreenspacesID. I already have another Aglaonema order queued up and ready to go. But, part of me told myself that, there was a bit of a risk to get plants shipped during the cold season. Some people would say that's plant suicide. I could necessarily agree because there were some plants that are a little bit hairy in terms of whether they're going to make it or not. But as far as the reassurance, customer service for GreenspacesID, they're really good about responding to your questions or concerns. And clearly, I know that I will be getting some replacement plants, just depending on how they acclimate. And then you can even see right here, I've got one more plant, I believe, to unbox or unwrap. So we're going to take a look at this one right here. I will say in terms of the packaging, again, they do take quite a bit of care in their packaging, and we can go ahead and take a look at this. So this is another Aglaonema. You can see that there is a yellow leaf or two. So those are definitely going to have to go. But this is my Aglaonema Red Army that I've been wanting to get. So I've gotten the Green Army. The difference between the Green Army and Red Army is the Red Army has red stripes. And as you give it better light, the red color will become a little bit more pronounced. Aglaonemas respond better to more bright indirect light. You're able to really accentuate and push out the better coloration. But you can even see with this one, is this a perfect Aglaonema? I would not necessarily say that this one shipped the best, but at the same time, it is a plant that I will definitely try to acclimate in my collection. If for some reason this one does not meet my satisfaction, I can always reach out to GreenspacesID, but I do want to give GreenspacesID grace in a sense that they are shipping these plants, to a country like the United States. It's making it out to the East Coast. We already know New Jersey has snow, so it's going to have to travel from a really tropical, humid country into the thick of snow. So for these plants to not even be frozen and still be really, for the most part, pretty good looking and, has some viable roots, I'm not even complaining one bit about it. It's not going to deter me from shopping for plants from GreenspacesID. Again, so for those that are interested in getting plants from GreenspacesID, you can utilize my promo code GROWFOLDS20 for 20% off your purchase. And I've noticed that there are a lot of content creators, plant influencers that have done many unboxing videos of plants. So you can see that this is a reputable nursery and company that will ship you plants that are not necessarily plants that you can find. And this was the freebie plant that I won. It is a Philodendron Florida Beauty. I already have a Philodendron Florida Beauty, but you can say that this one may not necessarily have shipped perfectly either. So I may have to just repropagate this. And, since it was a free plant, it's not like I'm losing any money over it. I'm always happy to get free plants. Clearly I am, because we did win some free plants. And as far as this one, I'm going to definitely, just based on what the leaves look like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose a couple of leaves. We're going to take a look at the roots. If the roots are not really viable, I'm just going to have to repropagate roots in water. So here's the thing about plants overseas, and I know not a lot of the plant foldies may necessarily engage in these types of videos. I know you're already looking for the plant shopping videos, the big box store plant shopping videos, but I'm really trying to diversify some of my plant content where it's not solely based on big box store plant shopping videos, because clearly you've already seen the golden pothos, you've seen the Aglaonema, you've seen the Costa Farms trending tropical plants. So for those that are tuning in and giving these types of content a chance, thank you for engaging with that. I mean, as far as this one, that's not a bad shipment of the Florida Beauty, but you can see that the roots were not necessarily the best. And then this is the other free plant that my friend Steven of I Live Plants, definitely subscribe to at I Live Plants. He's got some awesome plant content as well. And if you haven't already, please make sure you are tuning into the Cultivation Corner official YouTube channel. Do a search, subscribe to our plant podcast show. It's with Janae Simone, Steven of I Live Plants. Season 2, can you believe Season 2 has been renewed? And we are going to go live February 18, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. The first episode is going to be an amazing one. It will be an interview podcast podcast with PETA of PETA's Planters, the owner of the plant shop out in Dallas, Texas, one of my favorite plant shops in the Dallas market, so definitely check that out. But as far as this Anthurium papillanum, this is another one that's really nice and it's beautiful. I'm actually jealous that he ended up winning this Anthurium because I would definitely put that. Notice that it's got some beautiful velvety texture. The roots are very perfect, and this one is not going to have a problem acclimating to the environment. I did suggest with Steven that I would be the one that would acclimate these plants. I would let them sit in high, nutrient water, because all of these plants, and I'm going to skip that portion so that this video isn't nearly as long as some of my other Green Spaces unboxing videos. See, the difference is with people's unboxing videos from Green Spaces ID, it's what I've noticed. I've done a little bit of research, is people will unbox the videos and maybe do some explanation about the acclimation process. But I definitely want to give you more of a detailed look about, what you do with plants that you receive from overseas. Like this one right here is another Aglaonema I got. This is an Aglaonema Big Roy. So these actually get fairly large leaves. So I am definitely collecting Aglaonema. I have over 50 varieties of Aglaonema, and I'm really thankful because big box stores will carry Aglaonemas. Thanks to Costa Farms, Trending Tropicals, thanks to PETA's Planters for being able to source out some more uncommon, colorful Aglaonema to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And obviously Green Spaces ID for just having Aglaonema. Like I could literally ask what Aglaonemas they have via Instagram, and they're able to send me different varieties. There's some Aglaonema that they don't have listed on their website that they've been able to send and sell to me. So if you have questions, again, please feel free to reach out via direct message to Green Spaces ID on Instagram. They might have even a WhatsApp app, so you can actually message them as well that way. But in terms of the Aglaonema Big Roy, I really like the pink stems, the pinkish white stems, and just the coloration of this one. Let's take a look at the roots. So it looks like the roots are pretty good. They clearly look dehydrated. So as far as the process of getting plants from overseas, especially ones that are just in sphagnum moss or bare root, which is the only way you can get plants from overseas. So you cannot send plants or receive plants from overseas if they have soil, because you have to worry about pathogens and pests, and that is a really stringent process to where they would not be able to give these plants a phytosanitary certificate if they did not go through all of the processes of making sure that these plants are pest free. So this one right here, though, this Aglaonema Big Roy, it will get bigger leaves eventually. So that's the reason why I wanted to get this Aglaonema. There is maybe one leaf, this leaf right there, that may end up having to go, but otherwise roots look good. And so I'm going to go to the next process and not really give you a lot of commentary, but even though these plants have gone through a cleaning and rigorous quarantine process, I still like to clean the roots and the leaves. So what I do is I make a DIY pest preventative spray, which I call the Foldy Mist. I'm using a We the Wild neem oil spray bottle, though, to hold my DIY spray. The recipe for it is, again, 2 tablespoons of cold pressed organic neem oil that you can buy from Amazon, 2 tablespoons of rubbing alcohol, either 90% strength or 70% strength, 2 tablespoons of hydrogen peroxide. Put all the ingredients in a water bottle like this, and then fill it up with water, and then put a drop of Dawn dish soap. Shake, 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 and you have a really good pest preventative. So I'm spraying the neem oil on the tops of the leaves, the bottoms of the leaves, in between the nodes, in between the petioles, and definitely on the roots. And what I do is I'll let this neem oil spray, especially on the roots, sit for a good 5 to 10 minutes, and then I go back and just rinse out the roots with water. Since there is no soil, this is going to make it very easy for me to eventually move these plants into semi-hydroponics. So if you are not using semi-hydroponics or LECA, I would suggest making sure you soak the roots at least for 48 to 72 hours in a nutrient water solution, so that the roots will actually rehydrate and de-stress. The best nutrient that you want to add into your water, or at least what I would suggest, is a B vitamin nutrient solution called Super Thrive. It really helps revigorate the and energize the plant again. It definitely helps whenever you're repotting plants, but even just leaving them in Super Thrive water will really help the plants just rehydrate, reacclimate, and get the plant to the road of recovery. Because when you think about how these plants have made it overseas, you have to think that it was growing in a perfect humid, bright, tropical environment. Then the plant is removed from maybe coconut husk or some type of substrate like soil, cleaned up, let to dry for a little bit, I think. So don't, quote me on this, but there is a process to make sure that the plants are quarantined, pest free before they are shipped off 1,000 miles away, more than 1,000 miles away, and then packaged into a box that does not receive light. So there is a lot of stress. I mean, think about traveling overseas where you're stuck. When I went to the Philippines, it was a 17-hour flight from Dallas to South Korea, then another 4 hours to get from South Korea to Manila, Philippines. So just imagine that jet lag and even just the tiredness that you receive. While plants can't really speak, it's the same process for them. They go through a lot of travel, so they're gonna have to rehydrate. So this is what I'm basically doing is I'm just going to show you on how I'm cleaning the plants and making sure that, the space is clean as well. You want to keep everything sanitized and clean. So I'm just going to keep showing you the process and not really do a lot of commentary. Again, plant foldies, if you made it this far into the video and you have not pressed the thumbs up or like button, I would hope you would help support the channel. The goal is to try to get over 100 likes or thumbs ups before the video reaches 24 hours of premiering. I've just noticed that these videos get pushed out to more plant lovers like yourself when we get that type of engagement. And with 11,700 plus subscribers, I would just hope you would reward my efforts to produce daily plant content video. It's super easy just to press the thumbs up button. Hopefully you like my videos. Now, obviously, if you don't necessarily have to do that, but by just tuning in and watching the videos, I do appreciate it. But as you can see right here, I've got my colorful Aglaonema. So I've got my Aglaonema Red Stardust, and then we have the Aglaonema Big Roy. And you can see that I am really applying this neem oil spray to clean any potential pests that might have been lingering. I doubt it, because they had to really keep these plants clean, but just to make sure, I'm all about pest preventatives, and just to make sure that the plant also has a layer of protection. So I will leave the neem oil spray that I have on the leaves, but I will definitely rinse out and wash out the roots. So this is basically the process. I do that for every type of plant. And like I said, again, whenever I'm receiving plants from overseas, like GreenspacesID, I do transfer them into semi-hydroponics, because I don't have to worry about having to water the plant as often. I just have to fill up the water reservoir. I will be using self-watering planters, 5-inch self-watering planters that I bought from Amazon. I think you can get it for like $30 for 14 planters, which is a really good deal. But you can see right here, once I've let the plants sit with this neem oil spray for a good 5 to 10 minutes, I will rinse out the roots really good. And that's the thing. They have to ship these plants bare root with some sphagnum moss, so it's very easy to get these plants in water. I would not recommend potting up any plant that you receive from overseas right away. You definitely want to rehydrate them minimum 48 hours. It could even take up to a week. If you are going to leave plants in water for a week, though, I would change the water every 2 to 3 days. That way that there is oxygen and fresh water getting the roots before you do that. Some people will actually take imports from GreenspacesID or overseas and put them in humidity tubs. So basically you can get a storage tub and put the plants that are soaking in water to rehydrate, and then putting the lid on it to just increase the humidity. If you do do not have a humidifier. But those are ways to really give the plant the optimal conditions they need. I would also put them in bright indirect light. I wouldn't necessarily put them right under a grow light after you unbox them, but definitely give them some bright indirect light and then eventually put them under a grow light. That's another way to strengthen the plant, to get the plant to acclimate again. And here's the thing, again, with a import or an overseas plant, sometimes it just doesn't make it. You know, sometimes you can do all the right steps. I've had it to where some of those beautiful Aglaonema you might have seen, you know, a couple months back or a year back may not have necessarily made it because they just decline in health, and that's part of it. You can't blame yourself for plants. Sometimes plants just make it to plant heaven. So when I actually show videos of these beautiful plants that I would receive maybe from overseas, like GreenspacesID, please keep in mind that these plants may not always arrive perfectly. These plants may not acclimate to your environment perfectly. You may lose the plants. You may feel like you've lost some money, but I've always told people, especially when you're getting plants from overseas, you have to be able to understand that you may end up losing plants. You may end up losing money. That's just part of the process. It's kind of like if you went to a big box store or a local nursery where your plant ends up going to plant heaven. Now, you know, big box stores, they may end up just returning the plant. Depends on it. I think you have like within 30 to 90 days to do that with a receipt. But same thing with GreenspacesID. I think you get a window where if the plants are not up to your satisfaction and you can provide pictures immediately, and that's what I would say. If you get plants from GreenspacesID and clearly they're not going to make it, take photos, take videos, send it to their Instagram, send it to their customer service line, and I'm sure they will be able to you know, get you a plant. I'm not sure about the refund, but they'll be able to replace the plant. So either way, just communicate with them. But you can see these are very beautiful Dieffenbachia. And I will say, when I end up potting these plants up, I actually let the plants sit in nutrient water solution for about a week, just because things have gotten super busy again at work, and so I did not want to film a potting up video until I had proper time to really go through the process. You know, whenever I'm actually converting plants to semi-hydroponic substrates, it's a relaxing experience for me. So I'm just going to keep doing that. Let me know in the comment section if you have any questions, and hopefully you are still wanting to buy plants from GreenspacesID, because I already have my next order ready to go for the spring. I was going to have them ship the plants to plantstop.us. It's going to be a vendor that's going to be selling at PlantCon 2025 in Orlando, February 22nd and 23rd. And guess what? I will be going to Orlando, Florida for PlantCon 2025. I plan on filming hours, and I say hours, of footage of PlantCon 2025 in Orlando. I will be traveling with Plantfoldy Luke and possibly Isaac, my best friend. So we're going to have a good time there, and I'm going to show you that I may do a live stream on the Cultivation Corner Plant podcast so you can see the live event. But super excited, and you know, GreenspacesID is sending plants out there too, so I may end up finding some more Aglaonema, maybe some rare Hoyas or Philodendron. Super excited about that. But since I have to travel to PlantCon 2025 Orlando via plane, I don't know how many plants I can actually take as a hand carry. There is a PlantCon in Houston, so I may do the bulk of my shopping. But you can see the Philodendron Florida Beauty and variegated Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, I would say, were the two plants that did not travel really well, and so I'm pretty sure I'm just going to end up getting a replacement from them. But at the same time, I'm going to attempt to save these plants and just let them repropagate in water. So I may end up just removing some more of the leaves and just letting the nodes repropagate. So this is going to be a longer process. Like you can see, I'm taking that off. Again, that is not GreenSpace's fault. It is literally the timing of the shipment. I mean, you got to think it is super cold. First week of January, we ended up, you know, getting some really cold weather even in Dallas. So some of that had to really factor in. And then just some plants may not always ship well, even though you give them the most optimal conditions. And I want to make sure that people, especially if you haven't gotten plants from the mail, especially for those that have never received plants from overseas, please do not always blame the seller, nor think that the seller is obligated to just give you perfect plants, because even plants that make it from a truck to, say, the nurseries out in Florida to a big box store don't always travel well. So I just wanted to put that out there. Clearly, we want to make have some high expectations for any of our sellers, but at the same time, we also need to make sure that we exude grace, or give sellers grace, because if they are communicating with you, if they're able to replace your plants, the biggest thing that I really despise when it comes to just social media is, one person's negative experience will dictate everybody else's experience. Sometimes I feel like people are keyboard warriors. And yes, I'm going to be very transparent, because I've even seen sellers on Amazon where I bought Aglaonema, and I got perfect Aglaonema, and I read this review where this person said, oh, I'm giving them a 2 rating out of 5, and it's because they didn't feel like they got the best Aglaonema, but they did say it was an assortment. So an assortment could be like 2 of the same. It may not always be, different types of assortment. But as you can see right here, plant foldies, clean and ready to go rehydrate. So basically, I'm going to have all of these plants sit in a jar of nutrient water. What I'm going to do is just basically use my nutrient water, but we're going to skip that stage, and I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do in terms of potting up the plants that are going to go in leca or semi-hydro. You'll see what the update of the plant is. So all of the plants at this point, if I'm going to move them to semi-hydro, is going to be in leca, and they have been sitting and rehydrating and acclimating and recovering for about a week. So it took about 5 days for me to get to this process. So you can see the Aglaonema red army, there is some yellowing of it, but I'm still thinking that this plant could make it. And so I reached out to GreenspacesID. They did say that they would replace this Aglaonema, but I still don't want to just chug this Aglaonema. We're going to see if it's going to make it. It's still a pretty good looking plant. There is some yellowing on the leaves, so there is a little bit of concern, but what's important is that the roots are viable. And the only problem with Aglaonemas recovering is they're very slow growers anyway, so it may take a month or 2 for it to really show whether it's going to do well or not, and a good 4 months for it to really showcase a full recovery. So that is really my honest timeline. And when they always say patience is a virtue, plant care is not always going to be simple. The only thing that I can say about making plants simple is maybe moving them to semi-hydro. So you can see that I have self-watering planters. That is the actual planter. I have a wick string that will actually bring up the water from the water reservoir, and I pull it up about middle of the pot, so that way it's constantly getting that water up to the leca. And the reasons why I like to put plants in leca, specifically Aglaonema or even Anthurium, is because their roots are a little bit thicker. I feel like plants that have thicker roots actually do better in leca. Plants like Alocasia, for instance, those finer root plants, they need more of like a lechuza pond substrate, but leca, it's more inexpensive, so it's definitely more cost effective on you. And I buy mine actually from IKEA for only $9.99, but I'm going to go ahead and pot up this Anthurium for my friend Steven, because again, he doesn't have nearly as much experience getting plants overseas. I've even heard stories about people buying imported plants from like plant shows where they just put it straight into soil. You cannot do that. I tell people all the time, you have to let that plant rehydrate. You have to let that plant acclimate. So for me, I have a little bit more confidence of actually putting these plants, even if they've only been in nutrient solution for about a week, because it's a little bit more of a gentle conversion versus putting these plants in soil. Does that mean that you can't pot up your imported plants in soil? That doesn't necessarily mean that, but I would say if you're going to pot up your plants in soil, definitely give it bit more of a chunky aeroid mix, and I would definitely increase the humidity and grow the plants near a grow light to give them the best, conditions for them to really recover. So just a couple of tips, things that you need to know whenever you are getting plants from overseas, whenever you're getting imported plants. So you can see right here, this is one of the Dieffenbachia that I received. This is the Dieffenbachia mint, and you see that I went ahead and just pulled out 2 more of the leaves. So literally there's 3 giant leaves, and that's really the process. If you see some of the leaves going away, you're gonna have to get rid of it. But what I'm doing is I'm potting up this Dieffenbachia mint further down the pot so it's not as leggy. It'll eventually acclimate and it'll eventually push up pups to where it'll become a little bit more full. I'm still happy with the Dieffenbachia, but again, I have to attribute some of the damage on the plants, whether it's the roots or the leaves, from the cold weather. I mean, it's common sense, right? If you're going to get plants from overseas, you really have to time it. People say the best times to get plants from, like, say, Indonesia, if you live in the United States, is definitely in the spring, maybe early summer. For Texas, I would absolutely not order or get plants shipped to me via mail in the months of the summer, because we get 100+ degree weather. So if you're getting plants in the wintertime, they're going to freeze to death or, have some damage. Or if you get plants, in a place like Texas where we get 100+ degree weather from the months of like June, July, August, maybe even September, all the way into October, you have to really gauge it. So that's one important lesson that I learned from at least this unboxing review, is just the timing of when you are getting the plant. So whenever you get a plant from GreenspacesID, think of a turnaround. At the earliest, you may get it 3 weeks, but typically it takes about 4 weeks, because what takes time is the phytosanitary certificate and ensuring the plants have been quarantined and pest free. Now the travel, air cargo, it'll get to the United States within like a day or 2. And in terms of the plantstop.us, they just receive it and make sure that they repackage and package the plants to ship, which usually takes about 2 to 3 days. GreenspacesID, or at least plantstop.us, uses USPS service, which sometimes makes me nervous because they're not always the best at getting mail to me. There have been times where it's been delayed. So I know that I've spoke a lot today on this unboxing review, but I just really felt the need to really explain the process of it, because I would say this isn't necessarily the most perfect unboxing review that I would give, because I want to be fair to GreenspacesID. I want to be fair to the plant foldies. I want to make sure that everybody is in the loop in terms of just what you're expecting. But even this Big Roy right here, whenever you're potting up plants again, and I'm sure you guys have already seen me convert plants to semi-hydro, it's very important that you pat the sides and make sure that you get any potential air bubbles and that the plant is secured there. So plant foldies, again, if you made it this far into the video, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for engaging with me this far. Please, 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 please press that thumbs up or like button in this video, because it definitely helps push this content out to more plant lovers like yourself. And, for me, I am not, ashamed, nor am I afraid to just be transparent on the things I may necessarily need for our viewers and subscribers. I feel like being transparent is the best way to do it. And if I need some support or help, I'm definitely going to ask the plant folding community, because you guys are amazing. I cannot believe that a lot of you guys have literally tuned in my plant shopping videos or plant content every single day last year on a nightly basis, and really participating in the chats. Definitely want to shout out a lot of my plant foldies out in Canada, all of my international plant foldies, all of the local plant foldies out in the DFW market. You guys are pretty awesome. And I did want to say thank you to my friend from GreenspacesID for just really staying close to me in terms of when I'm getting these plants. Whenever I receive a shipment from GreenspacesID, I immediately send them a direct message on Instagram. I keep them posted and I let them know, what I'm going to do with my unboxing videos. I do encourage people to take a look at the website, see what plants you are. And if you are like me and you like Aglaonema, this is your one-stop source. to get some of the more uncommon and rare Aglaonemas that you wouldn't necessarily find at a big box store. But you can see right here, this is an Aglaonema variegated simplex, so it lost a couple more of the leaves. By choice, I went ahead and pulled them off. I went ahead and potted this up further down, and I'm pretty confident that these plants are just going to take a little bit of time. It's going to take maybe a month or two for them to, really show some new growth. I am using some really good nutrient solutions, very diluted, because again, whenever you are acclimating plants, in terms of fertilizers or nutrient solutions, less is more. If you put too much nutrient solution, you can end up getting the leaves yellowing because there is an imbalance of the nutrients, or you can end up burning or messing up the roots. Now, this one right here is that Aglaonema in tan. So you can see that there is 2 more leaves that are yellowing. So I'm pretty sure eventually those 2 leaves are going to fall off, and I'm going to be stuck with just 3 of these beautiful white leaves. That's okay for me. I'm okay with that. I got a really good price for these Aglaonema. So in terms of even the plant pricing I received these plants for, I can't really complain because GreenspacesID really gives me some good sale prices, premium sale prices, because I've been such a loyal customer to them. I've already gotten maybe 4 or 5 shipments from them within the past year and a half. So it's fine to me. And if you want to do your research about some of the other experiences people have gotten from GreenspacesID, I encourage y'all to check out YouTube. They've got lots of content, lots of reviews, and for the most part, they've gotten amazing reviews. So I don't want to discourage anybody if you are seeing some of the yellowing leaves or some of the plants not looking as perfect as I presented them before. But as you can see right here, plant folies, I'm just potting them up. It's very important to pull that wick string further up the pot, maybe in the middle of the pot, because you need that water to come up and water your plant. So this is the second variegated Dieffenbachia, and you can see that the roots are super hydrated again, because you can see that they're thicker, they're wider, there's no signs of root rot. So we're going to go ahead and plant this as further down to the ground of this pot as possible, because that way you can hide the legginess of it, and maybe some of those nodes at the very top that are a little bit bare might actually root. So that's also the thought process. Whenever you have a plant that's a little bit more leggy, you can plant it further down into a pot so it's less leggy. I do that with some of my Aglaonema, because some Aglaonemas, they just get caney, they get a little bit leggy. Dieffenbachia are the same. That's why they call Dieffenbachia dub cane plants. They just get a little bit leggy. I wish people would design planters that were more of like a cylinder vase type planter, where you can literally plant the plant further down into the pot. That's just a really quick plant hack to make your plant look less leggy. But that's basically it. And again, it's super easy to just pot these plants up. Again, these are plants that I received or at least potted up within a week. Some people wait a little bit longer and let their plants acclimate further. But to me, these plants I feel like are ready to go into LECA. I will make sure to monitor them. And, as far as like plant pests, since some of these plants, their health may be a little bit more compromised, they may be more susceptible to plant pests, and that's the reason why you need to be diligent about spraying neem oil spray on the leaves. But this one is a prime example of the type of health the plant actually gets to me on a typical GreenspacesID. Notice how healthy the plant looks. The leaves look perfect. The roots are viable, and all of my experiences are reflected within this Aglaonema red stardust. So I already have a huge order ready to go for the spring. I'm just waiting till the end of February, early March, because then I feel like Texas, there's not going to be a big fear of actual snow or ice. And I feel like New Jersey, which is where the plants are going to originally drop off, is going to be a lot warmer. So lesson learned in terms of just getting a plant from GreenspacesID. really look at your weather on how cold it is, because this is really what has impacted, today's unboxing review. Am I saying that these plants are not great? Absolutely not. Super happy that we received some really nice plants, free plants at that, and then this gorgeous Aglaonema definitely puts a positive note on it. I'm super happy, super excited, and the fact that I'm still going to be getting plants from GreenspacesID, you already know that I am not going to be deterred with a couple of yellowing leaves. The crazy thing is, there are some people who can never be satisfied or be grateful for some of the plants that they receive, to where they become keyboard warriors. Here is my message for anybody that does that sort of thing. If you are somebody, for instance, that says, goes on goes shopping, and there's an online survey, and you fill the survey and you give all of this negative feedback. If it's something that was virtual, yes, maybe you should do that. But I would say, if you have negative feedback or feedback that you need to give, rather than to put it on social media or some online survey, let the person know in person. Let them know this is what you received, because putting it out there and blasting somebody, especially if it's somebody that's not trying to scam you, sometimes I feel like people are quick to run and just blast their opinions on social media. And this is the reason why, and I'll tell you this, plant foldies, the reason why I have remained faceless on YouTube. There are a lot of content creators that are faceless on YouTube. There's not a problem with that. I just feel like people make assumptions about, Richie at Grow Folds is hiding something. No, I'm not hiding anything. The only thing I'm hiding is the fact that I don't need you to have access to me on a daily basis. And so, on the flip side, people can make assumptions for that. But it's the same thing when it comes to like giving reviews or feedback. Before you run over there and give somebody some nasty review and be a keyboard warrior, and I hope I'm not offending anybody, but again, and this is my platform. I feel like I can give you guys my honest insights and opinion. We are okay to disagree, but I've just noticed some people were like, oh, I'm just gonna go write a negative review and just blast it for the world. I would always say, utilize reviews as a way to gauge potential business, but at the same time, do not always take somebody's opinion, especially if it's a negative review, because it could be one person's opinion. Now, obviously, if there are a lot of negative reviews, you should, proceed with caution. But it's just crazy how like people will go into like businesses and, fill out a bad survey and then just say, I'll never spend my money again. And I'm like, well, did you tell the shop owner that? Did you give the feedback to the person that needs to get the feedback? Or did we go ahead and just blast it on social media or for the world? It's crazy how some people really write like are keyboard warriors. So if you're a keyboard warrior, that's fine with me, but please keep that away from me personally. I always say, if you're going to give somebody feedback, give it to them in person. Be bold enough and respectful enough and kind enough to give feedback to where it is constructive and, it in a way to where it ends up being positive for the person that's either going to be selling you a product or is giving you some type of service. So that's really a lot of me rambling on today. It was really fresh on my mind. And like I said, again, with my planned content, I like to talk to you guys directly. It's more of a personalized blog sometimes. And sometimes I deviate from the actual content. But as you guys can see again, I am just rinsing out the leca, watering it with some nutrient solution, and then spraying it liberally with a lot of that neem oil spray. And then I am putting the nutrient solution water. I do 50% of the reservoir, and then I add another 50% of just water to dilute the already diluted plant nutrient. This is really going to just help acclimate the roots and really just recover some of these plants from a very stressful, travel. I am just excited to see how these plants will grow. This one right here is that Anthurium that my friend Steve won for free, and I'm going to acclimate it just a little bit more. We're actually meeting on February 15th, the day after Valentine's to complete the final recordings of Cultivation Corner Season 2 Plant Podcast Show. Super excited. We have a great lineup. We've got 10 really strong episodes that are longer. So the original season only had 5 episodes that were 30 minutes each. We are now moving into about a minimum of 45 to an hour long episodes. So we heard your feedback, and we're definitely listening. So definitely excited about that. But I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rinsing and then just show you the final products of these beautiful plants that we received from GreenspacesID. And as far as those Aglaonema, the Big Roy and the Intan, I am curious to see how long it'll take for them to kind of recover from the travel. Same thing with the two Dieffenbachia mint here. I mean, they're beautiful plants. It's not like you can find these Dieffenbachia, and that's the reason why I still feel like everybody should shop GreenspacesID, because you'll find some rare and uncommon plants for some really good plant pricing. In terms of just plants from overseas, though, there is a process. You're getting plants for an inexpensive price, but there is going to have to be some work that you're going to put in, whether it's in the acclimation period, whether it is also in your patience. These are plants that are not necessarily grown in the United States, where if you say you buy plants like these that are already been growing in the United States, or already acclimated into the environment, they've already established root systems, growth. All of these plants that you receive from GreenspacesID, they have to start over. They have to grow into their whatever substrate you put them in. For me, I just feel safer putting them into leca right now, because even the Dieffenbachia, the variegated form that I got, which was actually a little bit more expensive than these ones, it's already pushing out a new leaf and it's doing very well. It's actually doing much better than I expected. And so I'm confident that these Dieffenbachia mints will acclimate well and will start pushing out some new growth. It's just a matter of making sure that I am staying on top of the nutrient solution water, and also providing it with higher humidity levels. So they're going to be in a room where there is a humidifier that stays between 65 to 70% humidity, and they will be growing under a grow light to just really give them that optimal condition. And then eventually, as the roots start to go acclimate to the substrate, they're going to do a lot better. When you start to see new signs of growth, especially when you've converted them to semi-hydroponic substrates, whether it's lechuzapon or leca, that's when you know that the plant is on the up and up and is going to be on a better way in terms of just the growth. So have some patience, stay excited, stay positive. For me, I'm loving the fact that I got these really cool looking plants. Again, plant foldies, if you like these Dieffenbachia mint, let me know in the comment section. Let me know in the comment section what you think of these plants, what your opinions are. Again, I always say, think before you click. That's going to be a very good topic that on the Cultivation Corner Plant podcast is think before you click. Have constructive criticism, and just be mindful about what type of social media presence you have, because those are things that you can't take away. Once you tell somebody something, you can't necessarily take it back. And I always say proceed with caution, show kindness always. And my message is for today's video, obviously unboxing video, I'm pretty satisfied with the plants that I received from GreenspacesID. There is no way I would not go shopping again. I already have an order ready to go with them, with some more plant foldies that have joined me to get some more plants so we can save on the shipping. But if you consider yourself somebody that does very quick reviews, is very quick to criticize somebody, whether it's on a social media platform, whether it is on a online survey, if you're able to actually reach out to the person directly, I would reach out to them, number one, privately first, and give them a reason to, be able to fix whatever behaviors they have, whatever shortcomings they have privately before you blast them on social media. And I really just think that in the world we live in today, in the society we stay at, social media, it's a really interesting platform. I mean, for me, some of it is very trolly. I'm not gonna lie, I love the fact that I have been very blunt about how much I feel like Aglaonema are very underrated plants. I have literally told you guys this every single day, that you need an Aglaonema, and I'm thankful that some of you guys have been open to listening to my opinion, my passion for Aglaonema, and have really gotten into it. But it's just really funny how a certain plant will get its value because we posted it on Instagram, or we talked about it all the time on on YouTube, or TikTok had some really cool plant that they did, or a plant is super expensive. Whether a plant is expensive or not, whether a plant is trending or not, if the plant brings you joy, if the plant makes you happy, if the plant is easy care, if the plant is inexpensive, love the plant for what it is. and make it your own trending plant. So for me, if you're a plant foldy, you already know you're going to see Aglaonema. You're already going to know that I am going to negate anybody that wants to be negative or wants to be just not positive. And that's really what it is, because I think somebody that may have received, say, this Green Spaces ID would probably put a more negative review about it, but that's not fair to the shipper. That's not fair to the people that took the time to grow the plants, that took the time to engage with me, to pack the orders, to safely try to get these plants to me. I've read negative reviews about plant sellers, and some of them you need to give a negative review, especially the scammers, especially the ones that never send you the plants, especially the ones that show you a picture of the plant and that's not the plant that you received. Yeah, put that on social media because you need to warn people from getting scammed. But in terms of maybe a couple of shortcomings, please don't be a keyboard warrior. Please don't be that person that wants to talk to the manager and write a negative review. Let the, give positive feedback in a way. And if you've been guilty about that, please at least take it from me. Just reflect on that, because I have in the past have gotten to the point where I just wanted to complain just to complain. And then when you really slow back down and think about it, plant foldies, it doesn't do you any good to not give the proper feedback to the appropriate channels, if that makes any sense. So I know that I spent a lot of time on that because I felt like it's important for us to really reflect on it. Yes, this channel is all about plants. It's all about shopping for plants, but it's also a community where I want to foster positive behaviors, positive intent, positive community, just positivity in general. And so in terms of that, I've seen less negative posts. I did see some folks trolling around trying to go after me, my friend Steven, my friend Janae, Cultivation Corner, all of that. Just know that there's not really any space for you. Thank you for the click. Thank you for the viewership. It just helps push this content out to more plant lovers in general. But it's just really interesting that social media can be like that. So maybe this is just a little bit of a mini podcast. I've shown you guys how I do my plants. The final part is to take the plants and spray that with, some really nice neem oil spray from We the Wild Protect neem oil spray. So I'll just spray it, and then I use my micro fiber gloves to, really manicure and take care of the plants. That's that tender, loving care you want to give the plants, and I love that. I'm really excited to see how this plant grows, this Dieffenbachia mint, and I really just want to make sure that I take care of this plant, give it about another week or two in my care before I release it to my friend Steven of I Live Plants. And Steven has done really well in terms of his plant content. So plant foldies watching this video, please make sure you do go to I Live Plants and check it out. And you can even see right here this Aglaonema in tan. I already know this yellow leaf that I'm rubbing and the other leaf that's further down is probably gonna go fall off. I could take it off right now, but I'm gonna let it sit there for a minute and I'll end up with 3 leaves. But I feel like those 3 leaves are probably going to make it, and then I'm just gonna have to see some new growth. It's not like I haven't had issues before with Aglaonema, but with a little bit of patience, with a little bit of positive thinking, these plants will do fine. If they don't do fine, you can always get a new plant. That's what I always tell people. If a plant doesn't make it, if your order wasn't perfect, reach out to the seller, give them the feedback, work something out with the seller. Like with GreenspacesID, I already know that they're going to replace the plant if it's not going to work out. I already sent some of my concerns to them personally, and we were able to work something out. But in terms of just the care, I have to recognize again, thank you to GreenspacesID for sending me the pictures of the plants, for answering my questions in under 8 hours. Like literally, I will send them a message on their Instagram and I will get a response from them. And that's really cool considering they do a lot of business and they've been doing this for a while. So again, for those that are looking for, import plants that are from overseas, that, you want a simple process where literally you just pick the plants on the website. You can reach out to them directly on Instagram. Use my promo code GROWFOLDS20 for 20% off your purchase, and let me know how your plants go. I will say as far as these plants, I have to be a little bit more mindful about the timing of the plants. You know, I was just very eager. I was very excited, thinking that, you know, the turnaround for shipping the plants, it's not that long because they use air cargo, but it's where the destination lies. And the fact that it's in New Jersey, an East Coast state where there is snow and cold weather, it just wasn't the best timing. And I could lament about it. I could beat myself over it. I mean, I sound like this was a terrible plant haul, but it's not. Like, literally, we got some really good plants. I mean, take a look at this Aglaonema red stardust, for instance. But it's just something that I want the plant foldies to understand and also learn that whenever you're buying plants, definitely hold off from buying plants in the winter. And, you know, a lot of online shippers will actually stop shipping plants, or they will put like heat packs. I mean, GreenspacesID plantstop.us did use heat packs. They did use insulation, but just maybe the travel or all of that might have factored in. But I mean, this Aglaonema shipped perfectly. This Aglaonema red stardust, and this is really the one plant I really wanted to make sure made it to me safely. So super excited about that. I have another lineup of beautiful large Aglaonema that I will be receiving from GreenspacesID, because I could have gotten some more plants shipped to me mid-February, but I feel like with the weather being just colder than it needs to be, I'm going to be a little bit more cautious about that. But here is my final plant haul, my shopping of plants. This is the free plants that I got, that Aglaonema red stardust. I did pay for that one, but this Aglaonema Anthurium papalenum narrow form that was won by my friend Steven of I Live Plants. He's another co-host of ours on the Cultivation Corner Plant podcast. Check that out. This is the Aglaonema red army. You can see that there is some yellowing on the leaves, and I really think that has to do with the cold weather and the stress, but I'm going to hold on to this Aglaonema red army and see if it'll make it. I believe it will. Plants are more resilient than what we give them credit for. This gorgeous Dieffenbachia mint, for instance, is a beautiful plant as well. And you can see, yes, some of these plants did lose a little bit of leaves, and they are just needing to recover a little bit more. But I'm not going to give up on the Aglaonema variegated simplex. And I just feel like with the variegated simplex, it's just a plant that may not travel as well. So there's just some plants that are a little more finicky when they travel. Plant folies, leave it in the comment section if you've ever had experiences about certain plants just not traveling as well. I would love to learn from your experiences just as much as I share my experiences with y'all. But you know, this Dieffenbachia mint, super happy with this purchase. Really satisfied with just the plants that they were able to send. Unfortunately, some of them did get some damage, and you know, this is my first review where I did showcase some of the damage, but talk through it in a way where I understand it's not a GreenspacesID's fault, and that's the thing. Some people will only do reviews where it's always positive, and that would be perfect in a perfect world. But let's face it, we've all bought plants either from online, and it may not always come to us in a perfect manner, but what matters is just what you do with the plants after, and what the resolution is for maybe some of the plants that may not meet your expectations. That's all it is to it. But plant foldies, I hope you did enjoy this plant haul. You can see that this is the process. Definitely shop GreenspacesID. Utilize my promo code GROWFOLDS20 for 20% off all your entire purchase. And I think if you meet a minimum threshold, you can get free shipping as well. Definitely reach out to GreenspacesID via Instagram, shop them. This is their website, www.GreenspacesID. Check out their plants, are always constantly restocking. And as always, if you like this type of content, please hit the like button or the thumbs up button. It definitely pushes this content out to more plant lovers like yourself. And subscribe to my channel at GrowFolds with the notification bell on. This is Richie. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.